Thomas, and welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I am going to start with a disclaimer today. I am greatly aggravated by some of the stories that have been released today. So I'm going to do my best to be restrained when I give this, but I make no promises. So let's talk about the Nuremberg trials. That's a good place to start. So after World War II, when the world found out what Germany was up to, essentially their quote-unquote final solution, literally trying to commit genocide on Jews, the world was horrified by what they did. And the world came together and had a trial at Nuremberg. So as these guys took the stand over and over, they did what has been commonly known as the Nuremberg defense. The Nuremberg defense boiled down to, I was a public servant, I didn't have a choice, I was ordered to do what I did. Public servant. I mean, what was I going to do? Was I just going to blow off an order? I mean, come on. Yeah, I get it. They wanted me to kill and hurt these people, but I mean, I was in a box. I was ordered to do it. So the world, and the moral weight of the world at that, responded, we don't care. You are a being of choice, and as a being of choice, you had options and you had decisions, even if that decision was to leave. In the same way that Germany had those two sides, the brave and the cowardly, the United States, as we kind of step into the initial days of this new president, we're learning that we're also breaking down into those camps of people who are principled and people who lack those principles. Donald Trump firing Sally Yates isn't the big story. How he did it is. So, speaking of one of these strong, principled people, Sally Yates was a hangover from the Obama administration. She's acting as Attorney General. So last night, when the reports were coming in about border agents still behaving egregiously, she essentially came out and said, I will not defend this order from this president. I don't think it's my job, nor do I think it is constitutional. I am not doing it. And I'm paraphrasing. That's essentially what she said. And immediately, she was for the most part rescinded. At the same token, juxtapose her strong principled stand with the cowards at the other end. Donald Trump says 5-year-old boy was handcuffed and held because he was a security threat to the United States. Let me repeat that. The security personnel at these airports, in this particular case, handcuffed a 5-year-old and kept them away from his parents because they deemed him a security threat. A 5-year-old boy. Oh, man. All right. So, I bet you're probably thinking, well, it can't get worse than that. That's pretty bad, right? I mean, they're arresting a 5-year-old for all intents and purposes. No, it can get worse. Immigration ban separates breastfeeding 11-year-old from mother for hours at the airport. So, look, so just to give more context to the first case. On Saturday, 5-year-old U.S. citizen was stripped from his family thanks to President Trump, or thanks to the Muslim ban from President Trump. The Maryland boy was traveling to Washington, D.C.'s airport with another family member to meet his mother, who was from Iran, when they were stopped and the child was handcuffed and detained for hours. The little boy, who U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen identified as a U.S. citizen and Maryland resident, was seen being showered with kisses as his mother embraced him at Washington, D.C. Delhi's International Airport. The mother, who was reportedly from Iran, declined an interview as she rushed out for the airport. Families surrounding his mother and son, meanwhile, clutched balloons and sang happy birthday to the boy, who had been flying with another family member. It was his goddamn birthday. They arrested, again, not necessarily arrested, but they detained a 5-year-old in handcuffs on his goddamn birthday. And in the second case, a breastfeeding mother was separated from her kid. I guess we should be fortunate since they didn't put the baby in handcuffs, but at this point, all bets are off. Oh man. Minions. I'm talking to the minions. The people who are essentially doing real world stuff that Donald Trump is telling them to do, even though it was struck down. How are you always on the wrong side of history? Every situation. Whether it was the border protectors in North Dakota, you guys were cracking their heads in and they were just trying to protect their land that was their land by treaty. Whether it was those brave giants, absolutely courageous, walking across that bridge in Selma for equal rights. And again, you were out there cracking heads, and just so happened they caught y'all cracking heads on television. Otherwise, you would have been like, it never happened. It never happened. No, it happened. And it continues to happen. I mean, even if you want to go with the idea of Occupy Wall Street, these were people who came out based upon what they identified as, we are being screwed. We are the 99%, and we are being fucked over. The cops, even though they were also part of that 99%, chose to put a knife in their back and crack those people's skulls in to get them out the way. You guys are an eyesore. These people need to get back to making their money. You know, how does it feel to be the one who's fighting for the status quo? I mean, for the most part, just to be the ones who's fighting for the powerful elite. Because that's what you're doing. I mean, at the end of the day, you're bugging the shit out of people for something that not only is unconstitutional, but was struck down. You guys are preventing senators from seeing people who are being illegally detained by border agents. And look, it is illegally detained because the judge had struck it down and said, let those people go home. So if those people are still being detained, it is beyond the law, in which case they're being detained. And then, you know, people have this tendency of saying like bad apples or bad apples. There's not bad apples. This has taken place thousands of times in airports across the United States. Just over the weekend, thousands of times. How the hell is it a bad apple if this shit is being repeated thousands of times? It's not a bad apple. The whole goddamn thing is disgusting. I mean, at the end of the day, it seems like over and over again, law enforcement attracts people in the same way that the priesthood attract pedophiles. It just so happened that the people who end up in law enforcement seems to have the singular talent of being morally depraved. What other excuse can you give that would allow somebody to arrest, to abuse, to beat up, to spray with pepper spray, to detain somebody illegally at an airport, to put a 5-year-old in handcuffs, to take a baby from its mama? And why? Because that orange asshole in the White House told you to do so? You have choice. The Nuremberg trial has already set the precedent. You have choice. You have absolute choice in this. These people should be shunned. These people should be ostracized from the community. They should not get to just fold back in with everybody else. And God damn it, I hope their names are being taken down. They are behaving illegally. And look, I know these people think they're a cog in the wheel. Dude, you're not the heroes. You are on the absolute wrong side of history. Just like you were over the last, since the inception of this country. Over and over and over again. You guys fuck over actual people, regular people, for people paying your salary. So at this point, we're literally just quibbling over price. It is absolutely amazing. How, yeah, you need to disabuse yourselves of this idea that you're heroic, or that you're just quote unquote doing your job. You're acting as if your job has no real world consequence. That what you do at your job or at your capacity as a border agent is completely separate and distinct from the things that happen in the world. And that is absolute bullshit. However you look yourself in the morning, do not think you're a good person. Do not think you are functioning to the betterment of the society. You're not. Your behavior has been morally reprehensible. And at this point, legally questionable. I mean, really, how the hell? They are literally excluding senators from seeing these people who are at this, just because he told you to do something. You could quit your goddamn job as opposed to doing it. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying the alternative is essentially let somebody overrule or undermine the rule of law by essentially making the case that, yeah, I know a judge said that we weren't supposed to do this, but I'm the goddamn president. I can do whatever I want. The thing is, power can't do what it wants when people say no. And so the very fact that Trump is able to pull this shit off, yes, you hit him for it. But you also got to hit the people who are making the decisions to implement the shitty ideas that he's coming up with. The xenophobic, racist, morally reprehensible ideas that Donald Trump is essentially pushing on the American public. They're doing it. They're not doing it for their health. They're doing it because they're being paid to do it. And their economic self-interest matters a hell of a lot more to them than your constitutional rights. And put a fine point on it. There's a quote that I find absolutely fascinating. So Daily Kos ran an article. And granted, the article is not exactly what I'm talking about. It's a very specific quote at the end. But it says, "We know from experience about unfettered capitalism. During the era of the robber barons, many railroad and steel companies had corporate armies and goon squads and used Pinkerton detectives to break strikes and crack skulls. In the 20th century, General Motors maintained the Black Legion that tortured and killed union organizers and firebombed their homes, while Ford has his own thugs, led by the infamous Harry Bennett, who personally opened fire on hungry marchers. Jay Gould captured the zeitgeist. I can hire half of the working class to kill the other half of the working class." How is this different? Yes, one is a private enterprise, the other is a state, but it's the same goddamn thing. These guys are taking a paycheck to turn around and abuse other people in society that when they took that job with the idea of protecting. They are violent thugs. And the state, for whatever reason, absolutely can make use of violent thugs. Particularly when it's time to do illegal, nasty, reprehensible shit like they're doing at these airports. And then for the people to protest, and they're pepper spraying people who are protesting their rights being taken away. You fucking kidding me? I hope the guy that locked that 5-year-old gets hit by a bus. I hope that shit hurts. And I hope that puts his ass in traction for a very long time. This shit is disgusting, man. And if this is where the country is going, it is going to require people to stand up. You guys have gotten far too complacent and comfortable. Whether it's with a Democratic president or Republican president. I goddamn hope this at very least tells you that you gotta pay attention to what these assholes are doing in Washington. He's literally trying to ban hundreds of million people from coming into this country. The countries that he's trying to ban from has 0 American casualties. But places like Saudi Arabia, who was exporting that terrorism to all those other countries, Oh, they're perfectly fine. I have a business interest with Saudi Arabia. But those other ones, the ones that we've been bombing the shit out of, I don't have no business interest with them. And look, to make this even that much more worse, you realize that these refugees, to some degree, is based on us. We went in and destroyed Iraq. Those people went streaming into other areas of the country, of other countries. We are actively bombing 8 countries. We even recently got a troop killed in Yemen, which means we have ground troops in Yemen right now. This is deplorable. And we're at a point where people don't have the luxury of being complacent anymore. People don't have the luxury of just sitting back in their armchair and, whining about it. This is literally an attack on the fabric of the country. And we've been far too complacent for far too long, and we let these guys do whatever the hell they wanted. And now they've ripped the mask off. So what are you going to do? Do we stand in solidarity and say no to this? In which case, there would probably be some kind of clash. Or do we just let it ride? Meaning, we let him deport as many people as he wants to deport, and we don't say shit about it. I choose the former. This is not what this country was supposed to be. And what he's doing has nothing to do with poor and huddled masses. We've been attacking those countries left and right, and we've been creating these refugees to some degree. It's our weapons over there that's fighting those wars. We're the ones who essentially got Al-Qaeda revved up when we tried to help them fight the Russians, and we thought making them more extremists would aid in their rebuff of the Soviet Union. This is blowback to our behavior. And to turn around and be like, yeah, we don't want you in our country because you're dangerous, you're terrorists. We've been flying killer robots in one country after another killing civilians. But these guys are the terrorists from that country? Get the fuck out of here. Look, man, that's fucking gross. And I don't know what takes place if he just says, yeah, whatever, I don't care what the court says. It seemed up to Sunday they were blowing it off. So I don't know what they're planning on doing. But this cannot be permitted. And if this is one of the first major constitutional crises, then let's have that constitutional crisis right now. This cannot proceed. You cannot let him get through with this. This gets progressively worse. If he's able to do this and get away with it, what happens the next time? And the next time? You have to stop him early, and you have to stop him now. Whether that's legal, whatever. You gotta stop him from doing this. This is going to turn out extraordinarily bad. We wonder, how would racism and xenophobia function in the White House? We're seeing it. Thanks, guys.